Hello guys, and welcome back to another video tutorial on CodeIgniter. This is a clean version of CodeIgniter, and today I'm going to show you how you can create a layouts library on CodeIgniter Framework. If you have been working with CodeIgniter, you have noticed that on CodeIgniter there is no such functionality. If you want to have header and footer already included, you're gonna have to figure it out, or you're gonna have to repeat yourself a lot. So basically, I'm just gonna show you a library which I have created, and I think you're gonna enjoy it. And CodeIgniter, if you want to call header and footer, this is how you call a view on CodeIgniter. And if you want to call header and footer on every page, you're gonna have to repeat yourself over and over again. So you'd have to call header and footer, and you would have to repeat yourself a lot by doing that on every view, and we don't want that. So I'm gonna show you a nice way to call just one function and do all the functionality that you need. So let's get started. I'm gonna go over to views, and I'm gonna create a new file. This folder will be called layouts, and inside layouts I want to have my header. I'm gonna save this file as header.php, and I'm gonna do a little markup here. There is nothing really, it's just let's do the doc type HTML. This is just a HTML5 doc type, and let's start the HTML here. Okay, head. Just have a title, and yeah, and the body tag. Okay, I'm gonna create a div here which is gonna be my header, and I'm gonna give a name, an ID of header, and I'm just gonna print out a h1 here, header title. I'm just gonna say welcome home. That's alright. Okay, and I'm gonna do another div here, this time with the ID of content, and another div, this time with the ID of sidebar, and last one, footer. Okay, so I'm gonna separate these last lines here because this will be our footer and there's no need to be here. Okay, I'm gonna create a new file in layouts, and this file will be footer. I'm just gonna save that as footer.php. Okay, and the sidebar, the content div, it doesn't have to be here as well because this will be part of our content file. Okay, we just want the header here, so I'm gonna go to views and home, and this would be actually the content, but I'm just gonna replace that with the div I've just created, and I'm just gonna say this is our content, and the sidebar I want to be separate as well, so I'm gonna leave the div here for now. Okay, and we get back here later. So let's start with our library. So I'm going over to libraries, and I'm going to create a new file. this file will be called layouts.php. Okay, and I'm gonna save that. .php, and the class name will be layout. Okay, and we're gonna have a property here, and this property will be this CodeIgniter instance. So I'm just gonna say hold CI instance. That's enough. So this is gonna be a private property, and it's gonna be equal nothing. It's just, that's okay. It's just the property itself. We're gonna need another one to hold our title. CI. Let's say layout title. Okay, private layout title. It's gonna be equal null, and we're gonna need another one for description. Okay, and private layout description, and this is going to be equal null as well. Okay, so now I'm going to start the main the construct method, which is going to instantiate our CodeIgniter instance. Just going to do public function construct, and here we're going to set our property CI, which is going to be this CI. It's going to be equal, actually not equal, we're going to do a reference here, and the reference here is the CodeIgniter instance. To call the CodeIgniter instance, you probably already know. If you don't, it's just you just have to call the function, and the function is pretty easy. Function is just called get instance. Okay, and is this simple? Yes, it is. Okay, now we're gonna need a method to set our layout title. Okay, it's gonna be public function set title, and it's gonna have a title input. Okay, and all I have to do is assign the title input, which is going to come, and assign to our property. So I'm just going to do this layout title, and this is going to be equal the title input, which is it's going to come. Okay, with the public function, and do the same for description. Okay, description. Good. Same thing. Just assign layout description. It's going to be equal description. Good. Done. Okay. Now we have a method to set our title, another method to set our description. We have already instantiate. We already get the instance from CodeIgniter, and we assign to this CI property, which we're going to need to call the view function, the view method from CodeIgniter. Okay, and we're going to start with the method, and this method will be called view. So public function view, and the view method will have many parameters. First parameter will be the view name, and this is going to be the file you want to render. And the second parameter, it's going to be an array, and it's going to be layouts, which is going to be equal an array. Okay, and layouts here, I'm going to explain to you later why I'm passing this value and why we're going to need this. The third one obviously is the parameters, params, which is going to be equal an array as well. Okay, and the third and last is going to be a default key, and this is going to be default to true. Okay, good. And now we're going to start by just checking. Okay, let me just explain this quickly. The view variable here, the view name, is going to be the file, the main file you want to render. Okay, so if you want to render home, you'll be passing home here, and the second parameter here, this array, will have a key and a value. Okay, it's going to be an assigned array. Why do we need this? That's because let me go over to home here, and as you can see here on sidebar div, let's say that I want to include, let me go ahead and create a folder already. So if I go to views here, I'm going to create another folder, and this folder will be called sidebar. Okay, sidebar here, and I'm going to create a new file in there. This file will be called a latest. Okay, so basically I want the latest news in there. Latest. Okay, save, and now I have the latest file here. I'm just gonna type something here. New York Times news, whatever you type, whatever you want. This is just gonna be our news. And basically, why do we need the layouts variable there? That's because if I want to load that layout file, which is inside sidebar latest, all I'm gonna have to do with the functionality is print the key here, and the key we gave the name of latest. Okay, so by doing this, you'll be simply calling and including, rendering, whatever, that sidebar latest. Okay, as easy as that. So let's go back there and explain. Okay, parameters, params, it's going to be any parameter you want to pass through and render with your normal viewer file. Okay, and last one here is just a functionality which you're gonna want to have, because let's say that I don't want header and footer included on all files. Basically, I will just have to set this to false, and there will be no header and no footer anymore. So okay, let's start now. I'm going to start with okay, the viewer name here. Let's start from here. Okay, viewer name. Obviously, we already instantiate. We're already getting the instance from CodeIgniter. I'm going to call that instance here, which is this CI load view, and basically all I want to do is get the view name here. So yes, and I want the parameters as well, so params. Good. That's how you can render the viewer. So let's just type render viewer. Okay. Okay, now let's go to layouts, which is our second parameter here. The layout, I want to check if it's an array. Is array. Okay. Layouts, we want arrays obviously, and I'm gonna also check if it's not empty. Okay, and count layouts. Yes, if it's greater than equal 1, then okay, we want to go through these parameters we're going to pass through on this array. And okay, so if there is nothing, nothing's gonna happen. If it's not an array, nothing's gonna happen. Obviously, if it's not an array, if it's not set, we're gonna go back. We're gonna go here to RenderViewer. Okay, you know that. Okay, we're gonna have to loop through this array. Yes, I'm gonna do a for each, and I'm gonna do layouts as layout key, and the value will be layout itself. Okay. Okay, now all we want to do, remember I told you that we want to call layouts. Okay, it's very simple here. What we're gonna do, is set params. This is the variable params there, and the key here will be layout key. You will see why. And the value here will be equal the layout itself. And basically, this would assign this parameter key here, the key and the layout itself. And you're gonna know why it is. But we cannot use just the layout value here. We're gonna have to instantiate to get our CI. I'm gonna call this CI load view. So because this is what we want to render, okay? But I must tell you now, if we do this, it's going to render now, and we don't want this to be rendered straight away because we want to call it whenever and wherever we want. I'm gonna pass we're gonna pass params here as well, because if we want the params to be available in there, we have it. And the third parameter here, CodeIgniter view, you can pass a third parameter, and this parameter is going to be equal true. Basically what means is, if this is equal true, it will not render, it will just return the value, and that's exactly what we want, because we don't want this to be rendered just now. Okay, good. Okay, we are set for this. Now we're gonna have to go, we don't have to go over to the third parameter here, because obviously it's just params, there's nothing to do. Let's go over to the last one, which is by default true. So we're gonna do another if condition. If default is equal true, then we want the header and we want the footer, yeah, we want them to be already built in. Okay, so now let's just before we do include header and footer, we're gonna need to set the title and the description here, because we want to send those title and description to the header. Okay, so let's just set title here. I'm gonna just do set layout title. Okay, simple, it's very simple. All I do is set params, okay, which is our parameter, and the key of these will be layout title. Simple. And I'm gonna assign these with the property we have, which is this. Yes, layout title. Simple as that. And I'm gonna do the same for description. So layout description, and it's gonna be equal params and layout layout description. Yes, and we're gonna do the same thing, just assign layout description. Okay, obviously now we just need the header, content, and footer. So the header here is going to be the default header, and to call these is very simple. We already done that. We just have to this called the CI instance, and a load view, and yeah, here, because we want the header, right, we create a folder called layouts here, and inside layouts we have header and footer. So basically I have to pass the folder name here, which is layouts, followed by the name of the file, which is header. So if you want to do .php here, feel free, but I don't feel that's necessary. Okay, and we want to pass the params there, and the params here will be the layout title and the layout description, because we want that to be in our header. Okay, I'm just gonna pass params here. Basically, I'm just gonna change the name here. I'm just gonna do a header params. Okay, that's because I don't want the other parameters to be passed to the header. If you want to, you can do that. If you don't, you do like I'm doing. Okay, so I'm gonna do header params. Okay, now we need the content, and the content render content. Okay, and here's render default header. Okay, the content, obviously I think you already know what it is. It's just the view name, because you won't be calling whatever you want. So load view, and this will be the view name, which is the first parameter here, which is the name of the file you want to render. Okay, and you want the params as well, obviously, because you want to use them. And this time we don't need to pass the true value because we want to render. Okay, that's set. And last one here is just to render the footer. Okay, this CI load view. Okay, and the viewer obviously is the same thing as the header. Is in layouts folder, followed by the file name, which is footer. Okay, I don't really want to pass params here, but if you want, feel free. I'm not going to do it. I don't think I'll be using params in the footer, but if you want to, go ahead and do it. Okay, now is this condition, yes? The viewer name, you're gonna have to pass the viewer name always, okay? And you already know that. But we want to check here. So basically, on the first condition, we are checking if there are layouts. Okay, if there are layouts, this is gonna work. We're gonna set the layout key as params, and we're gonna assign to these viewer method from CodeIgniter, and we're not going to render just yet because this is just going to be assigned to the layout key, which is going to be available on our viewer, which is here or here. So that depends how you're going to pass your values here. So you're going to have a better idea when I show you how it works. And for now, we've checked this, and we have to check if it's default set or not, because if default is set, we're setting layout title, layout description, we're setting the header and the render the content and the footer. So if it's not default, then you can render whatever you want without header and footer, and that's exactly how it should be. So basically I'm just gonna say if it's default, do this, else just render whatever it is that we want. I'm just gonna copy these over to this statement here, and I think we are good to test now. Okay, Let's go and test these out. But before we test, we have to set the title. And I'm not gonna set description because if I do the title, you already know how to do the description, so I'm not gonna waste time with that. And we're gonna just call our viewer function, and I'll show you how it works. Let's go over to home.php on our controller. This is the default way from CodeIgniter if you want to load a viewer, and here I'm loading the home, but we're not gonna be using this because we have our own now. And as we created our library, we have to load that library, and to load the library, load library. CodeIgniter is very simple. You just call this load library, okay, and the name of the class of that library, which is the name of the file and the library. So I name it layouts, right? And here I name layout. Actually, I'm going to do the same name, layouts. Let me go back there, controller, and here I'm going to say layouts. Okay, let's just see if this is working. Refresh here. Okay, no errors, it's working. And now I'm gonna render something. Okay, before I'm gonna set the title, set title, because we want to be able to set titles dynamically. Let's say I'm calling the title from a database or something. We could do that. I'm just gonna call these layouts set title, and the title will be welcome home. That's okay, welcome home. Okay, I've set title. Now I just have to render my home viewer. Okay, do these the same way, these layouts, and I'm gonna call view, which is our method we created, and first parameter obviously it's gonna be home because I want to render the home. And let's just render home, and you see that we're gonna have the header and the footer already included. Let's see if that's working already. Okay, and if I go here on layouts header, obviously I have welcome home with on a div, and I didn't echo the title. I'm just gonna do that now. PHP echo, and the key, as you remember, is layout title. Okay, and if we go to footer, I didn't write anything. Let me just write here, copy 2012, just to indicate that this is our footer. And that's it. Yeah, let's go and try. I'm going over to Firefox, and I'm going to refresh this page. Okay, so obviously something went wrong, but I'm going to tell you what it is. Here I have the welcome home title, which is working. That's good. I have the header included, and I have my footer included. That's really good, really good. It's all working, and I have my content. The only problem here is undefined variable latest, and you're gonna see why we have this error. Okay, if I go over here to home, I'm echoing latest here, but obviously we didn't set our latest to be included. Okay, and we're gonna do that now, and you see how this is gonna work, because we have the functionality available for us right now. So I'm gonna go to home.php on controllers, and the second parameter, if you remember, is layouts. That's where latest came in handy, because now I'm just gonna pass an array, and this array will have the key as a latest because that's what we're printing there as a parameter, and the value will be our file which we want to include. In this case, it's in sidebar latest. Okay, sidebar latest. I'm just gonna pass a folder name which is sidebar, followed by the file name which is latest. Okay, and these should do it. These will load our sidebar latest. You see, just calling one function, you're already doing a lot here. So let's try that out. Let's just reload the page. Okay, obviously it's working correctly, and we have our news here, latest, and it's pretty simple. I'm just gonna check the page view. You can see we have the header here, okay, and followed by the content, and we have the sidebar as well, and we have the footer as well. That's great, all working perfectly. Okay, I'm gonna include another functionality which is gonna come in handy, because let's say we want to load a JavaScript file or a CSS file, and we don't want to load that on every page. So we're gonna do that dynamically as well. I'm gonna show you how we're gonna do that, but everything's working for now. That's pretty good, and it's very simple. You just called home, and which is the main view, and the second parameter, it's an array with latest, sidebar latest. Obviously you could load it more if you had, so I could load let's say fans, let's say Facebook fans. I could load that easily, no problem. That would be my key name, and I would call a folder which I could name it Facebook, and the file could be fans. Okay, that would render the same way. All we would have to do is go to here and call it. Okay, that would work fine. So I'm not gonna show you that now because you know that already works. And I'm just gonna show you something. I could be passing params here like we normally would with CodeIgniter. I could be passing here data, yes, as our parameters. I'm gonna show you that. And last, if I don't want the header and the footer included, I just simply type false here. Okay, by passing false, we don't include header and footer automatically. Okay, let's just set the data here so you see it's working. Yeah, set data. Okay, I'm just gonna set data, and a key name will be our company, whatever. Okay, this is our company. Okay, so this data would be passed over here like you normally would, and I'm disabling the header and the footer. So let's go over here to home.php, and this is our content. I'm gonna create a new paragraph, and this time I'm gonna echo that data, and that data had a key, and the key was our company. Okay, that should work as well. Let's just go over to our browser and check. Just gonna refresh. Obviously header will have to disappear, the footer will have to disappear, and our data should be underneath this is our content. So let's just check that out. Okay, we have an error, and let's see why. API encoder, path info expect parameter to be string array given. Okay, cannot modify header. Let's just check what this is. Okay, yeah, this might be something very simple. Our company, let's go over here, and data, our company. Okay. Oh, I see. Basically, I'm including the, sorry about that, guys. I'm including the variable, the parameters in the array, which I shouldn't. I just didn't see that coming. Okay, now it should work. refresh. Oh, obviously it's working. So I have the data I'm sending, I have the another layout, which is our news, and I have the content. As you can see, I have no header and no footer anymore, and that's just what we wanted. That's good. You see how flexible now this is. And to finish that, we're just gonna do the functionality to actually have your files included dynamically. I mean CSS and JS. So let's go over that and start now. So I'm going to start a new method just right after set description, and this method, let's call it public function, and let's just say add includes. That's good, yes. And okay, we're gonna have to pass the value there, and the value there will be, we want the path. Okay, we want the path here, and we want to the base URL. Okay, let's just pass the prepend base URL. Okay, and this is gonna be equal true, and you see why. Okay, now I'm gonna just say, I'm gonna check if we have the URL, the prepend base URL. So let's check if. Okay, let's check if prepend base URL, yeah, we're gonna do, if we have the prepend, we're gonna do this CI and load, and I'm gonna load a helper. Okay, the helper will be URL. Okay, so just in case, if you haven't already loaded the helper URL, okay, and now we're gonna do, actually I forgot, I have to create here a property, and now we're gonna do, this will hold the includes like CSS and JS files. Okay, and we're gonna name it as a it's gonna be a private property, and it's gonna be includes. Okay, it's gonna be equal an array because we want to pass as many as we want. Okay, let's go back there and add includes. Okay, now over here we're going to actually set our path here. Okay, let's go do this. Includes. Okay, and we want to set base path. Okay, base URL actually, and we want to concatenate with the path. So I'll tell you why. Okay, base URL, basically, if you go over to config.php, yeah, this is my base URL. Okay, because I want the file to be found, okay, easily. That's why you have to set your base URL. Okay, let's go back there, and this is going to be the path. When we start doing, when we start setting this up, you will see how it works. Okay, really easy. Okay, so okay, if prepend base URL is true, this will be set. Else else, because maybe, just maybe, you want to pass a URL yourself. Let's say that you're using some API, like let's say you load the jQuery from the Google, you can do that as well. And let's just do this. Okay, includes, yes, and this is going to be equal a path. Okay, and after all, we're just gonna return this. Okay, you see why we're doing this, you see. Okay, we have the function to add our includes. Now we have the method for that. Now we need the method to actually print that. Okay, we're going to create another method. This method, public function print includes. So this will be the method. Okay, and here I'm going to create an empty variable, which is final. Okay, final includes. It's going to be equal nothing. I just want to make sure the variable is there. And now we're going to do obviously a for each on our property, which is an array. Okay, and this is going to be this. Okay, includes. Okay, which is our property here is an array, includes. Good, and as include. Okay, now we're going to check what type of file we have. Okay, because obviously we might have a JS file or a CSS file. So I'm going to check if preg_match, which is a function from PHP, which you may be familiar with, and we just want to check if is the type JS. Okay, if it's JS, and here is our include. Okay. Okay, if preg_match JS, if it's a type of JS, then we include that. Okay, I'm gonna do final includes here, and I'm just gonna append our file here, which is gonna be script. Okay, source equals, and I'm gonna concatenate our include here. Okay, and I'm just gonna close the script here. Okay, so basically here we are including our JS file, if it's type of JS. Okay, and now we do else if. Okay, if this same thing, yeah. Oh, sorry. Else if preg_match, and now we're going to check if it's equal CSS. Okay, and if it's equal CSS, we're going to include the CSS. Simple as that. Okay, so final includes. Okay, and this time is just a link. Okay, href equals bar. Okay, now is the include, same thing. Okay, and we have to tell that is a sorry, we have to tell that this is actually a style sheet. Okay, and yes, I just have to close this now. Okay, I think we are good here. Okay, and obviously I just have to return after the for each here. I just have to return the final includes. Simple as that. And let me just double check here if everything okay. I think everything is okay. And we're adding here. Okay, I think we can check that out now if it's working or not. Okay, I'm just gonna create a folder here, new folder, and it's gonna be called CSS, and I'll do let's go over to CSS here and new file. I'm gonna name it default.css. Okay, and I'm just gonna color the header just to check if it's working, or if it's I'll just include here. I'm not gonna write anything, but we can check on the source if it's included or not. Let's just include a JS as well to see if it's working. New file, JS. So now we have two folders here, and in JS we're gonna just do a I'm gonna save as a let's say default as well .js. Just gonna alert here. It's gonna tell us if it's working or not. Hello there. Okay. Let me go over to controller now. Now we have to actually load the JS and CSS file. To do that, we simply include JS and CSS files. We simply call these layouts, add includes, and this time we just load the JS default.js, and add includes again. This time we load the CSS default.css. Okay, and the only thing we have to do is go over to header and actually print here PHP echo, and it will be these layouts print includes. If you remember that, that's our method to print our includes. Okay, and remember when I told you over here in layouts that why we should return this? The reason why is because we don't have to call the whole function again. We can just do by calling the add includes again. So because we are returning that method, we don't have to load in the method again. So yeah, that's why. Let's go over to the browser and check if that's working. Okay, reload, and let me check the view page source. Yes, the files are included here, but it did not work apparently, and we have a 404 page not found, and I think I know why. If I go over to my .htaccess file, I have a condition here which, if you have watched my previous video on how to install CodeIgniter, and I explain how rewrite works. And basically this condition here is just ignoring index, images and robots. These files will not be redirected to index, and I have to also include here JS or a CSS folder, but I'm gonna use another condition. I'm gonna do rewrite cond, and this time I'm gonna use a request file name here, file name, and I'll explain to you how this works. And I'm gonna do the first one will be S. I'm just gonna duplicate this stuff, and second one will be D, and last one will be L. So basically what this means is this parameter here will tell the rewrite engine to ignore link files, and this one will ignore directory, and this one will ignore files itself. So basically, if there is a real file, it will not be redirected. So now with this, that should work. With this condition here, it should work now. So let's go back to our browser and check. Reload. Okay, obviously it's working now. I have hello there here. It's working. Our JS files, it was included. And if I go to view page source, obviously I have here my JS file, which is working fine, and the CSS file. And if I go to the CSS file, I have another 404 page not found. But that's because when I told you I wouldn't put anything on the CSS, I should have put it something. It can't be empty. So I'm gonna just do header here and background color, and the color here will be gray. Okay, just to test. Yes, let's go back to the browser and reload. Hello there. Okay, and here we have CSS working as well. That's perfect. And now you have a working library, which it's pretty useful, and I hope you enjoyed.